Start stream. Is it live? Can people get in here? Are they seeing me? Hey everyone, Mike Rosehart here. I don't know if you can hear me loud and clear. Let me know if you're getting the notification, if you're jumping on for the Wise Wealth Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's take 1 minute, let people get the notification, let people jump on the Wise Wealth Show. It is 7:04 p.m. Eastern Time. I am back in Canada, guys. So it's great to be back. Hopefully the stream's coming in loud and clear. If someone jumps on in the chat, please say hello and also let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. If the audio is coming in loud and clear, is the video also coming in okay? We're streaming live, like I said, through the camera into the laptop and directly plugged into the router. So hopefully the live stream is good to go and healthy. And hopefully it's public. Let me just go down and double check. No one is watching, so maybe it's on. Of course, it is private and not listed. Typical. Is it to stop streaming? Coming up. Hey everyone, welcome to the Wise Wealth Show. I was just broadcasting for the last 3 minutes, talking to no one because we had it on private, not on public. I apologize for that, everyone. So we are, I think, on now. It's public.
You are on live, but you've got a box. So go to the EOS utility there real quick.
This one right here.
Oh, next one over.
Yeah.
Hit that little cross.
Ah, the focus bars. Better?
Don't minimize that. Just
yeah. Yeah.
If you minimize it, it'll cut it.
Hopefully that's clearer. Are people on, or is it?
Maximize it. Make sure it's maximized.
This one?
No, the EOS utility. That one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this will cut it. So just click off that onto that.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Now we've removed. Yeah, I definitely don't see the thing on the stream anymore.
I just noticed that they're on.
Okay, we are on, I think, now. So sorry everyone, the first 3 to 4 minutes there, I was streaming privately, so my bad on that. Sorry everyone. We had 2 attempts, we finally got it going. Michael Chung, welcome. Mike, how you doing? Welcome to the live stream. I apologize. Last week I was not able to do a live stream. I went to go do it at 7 p.m. and realized I was in LA, and so I was on Pacific time, and 7 p.m. was 10 p.m. Eastern, so I totally missed the boat, and I made the executive call, given I was pretty fatigued from traveling. During that day, we'd done a lot of sightseeing, and I just made the executive call not to do the stream that late at night, and instead just skip one Wise Wealth show. I did drop videos last week, so it's not like I didn't do anything for you guys. I did put some effort into dropping those videos. They were awesome. A couple of you guys remember Early Retirement Extremes, Jacob Lund-Fisker. We are also working on our audio, so if you check out my last video about social media and why I think you should be on social media, you'll see I've been trying to up the game. We're going to start doing some new things, and hopefully the old subscribers, the 2,438 of you guys who are the old crew, can remember and appreciate some of the old ways we used to do things. We're going to integrate some new stuff, like I might just talk about puppies on the screen and shoot up a picture, or while I'm talking, you might put up a little bit more visual as opposed to just me talking head straight to you. Me, ZZ, hey Mike, I saw you making gains at Muscle Beach. Yeah, I was going out for some of them gains. I have a really good friend from university, from college, who I did that picture for him. It was like 21 degrees, wasn't even that warm out, but I'm like, you know what? If I go all the way to Muscle Beach, Arnold is gonna, eventually when he passes, he is gonna like turn over in his grave, right? And my buddies, he would have like beat me up, you know, he would have beat me up or something. So yeah, that's definitely something that I had to do for him. So, you know, when in Muscle Beach, I mean, you gotta pop a little flex, why not? And so that was fun. We had a lot of fun doing some photo shoots and stuff in LA and in Vegas. And in Vegas over the weekend, for those who didn't know, I went to Matt McKeever's and Jeff Weibo's real estate mastermind. They had a 63-room boutique hotel, and we all strategized and talked about social media. And there I got to talk to some really great people who are crushing. You know, Graham Stephan, Meet Kevin, a couple other channels you guys don't probably know as well because it's not a brand, but some channels that are getting millions of views each and every video. And so I was talking to some people who are crushing different areas of social media. Instagram is something that's huge, something I'm really focusing on now that I wasn't focusing on before. I didn't think, I've been doing Instagram for like a year. If you guys go back, you can see I've been doing stories and posts and all that for a long time. But I wasn't focused on upping my Instagram game, where I just had to be on point with descriptions and hashtags and really providing good quality photos and learning how to get those ranked in the explore function. So just a lot of that. I'm also going to be investing some money now, put my money where my mouth is. I talked about in the last video why you should be on social media. I'm actually going to do a test run. I'm going to kind of film it for you guys. You can see how it goes. I'm going to invest $1,000 into Facebook ads, YouTube ads, and Instagram ads, but specifically Facebook and Instagram ads. I think there's a huge amount of potential there to do some cool videos. One, to get the word out there about personal finance, about FIRE, right? So some of it's going to be focused on that. And the other piece is going to be, I have to tie it to a revenue source, because then it's a valid expense, and I can tie it to my business, so real estate investing. And you guys know I'm financially independent, so the reason I got into this real estate investing joint venture partnership business that we do, where property management is effectively what we're doing, and buying properties for investors and bringing investors in on those properties. The reason I'm doing that is because I want to help other people unlock financial independence. Because people reach out to me and say, Mike, I'm buying ETFs and getting 6% rate of return. I want to retire faster. I want a piece of, 50% rate of return, or that sort of thing. So that's why that's why I started anyway. My partner had probably other motivations, but my reason was to get other people financially independent. And all 10 of our seed investors, the first investors in Right Way Management, are all they're all going to be financially independent. If they aren't already, they're all going to be unlocking financial independence just from the cash flow. And obviously there's appreciation there too. So the idea is get the money out and have free cash coming in with the down payments recouped over the next year or two period, right? So that was sort of why we did what we did. And I'm going to run some ads with that as well, because I think there are not very many people in the Canadian market that are doing what I'm able to do. We're buying properties still below market value when everyone else is paying over asking. We're buying privately when people tell me there's no private deals. There's tons of private deals. People are saying vendor take-back mortgages don't exist. They do exist. People are saying you can't buy properties for 70 cents on the dollar, 60 cents on the dollar. You can't buy properties on MLS, Mike, and cash flow them. And I'm not talking like $100 a door cash flow. I'm talking $1,000 a door cash flow. They're saying you can't do these things, Mike. Can't, impossible. And then I go and do them, right? And that's just my favorite thing. I loved when I was like 17 and started on this journey. Everyone in my family, every single one of my friends and family thought it was impossible to retire at 24, to retire at 25, to retire at 30. They said, this is not possible, Mike. No one does this. It's not a thing. So then I would reach to other mentors like Early Retirement's Extreme, Jacob Lempisker, and I'd say, look, Jacob is doing this. And I'd go to Mr. Ray Mustache's blog and send posts to all of my friends and family and coworkers and say, look, these guys are doing this. It's real. You can actually do this. And everyone would just dismiss it. No, it's not possible. No, it's not true. And so, yeah, definitely that's my rant, is I want to get that out there, that it is true. It is possible. It is the better lifestyle for about 70% of people who are unsatisfied in the work that they do. And so the 30% out there who are loving what they do, who are entrepreneurs, who are just crushing and they love what they do, that's cool. Like FIRE is there to make sure that you're secure, and if the venture ever explodes or something happens, you have that backbone. But if you're not trying to escape anything, there's less allure, I think, for FIRE. The people who are really motivated by FIRE, like myself, I just didn't enjoy working for someone else. I didn't enjoy being an employee, and I hadn't found a job that I really enjoyed long term. So that was really important. I think FIRE gave me that confidence to do what I do now and share with you guys. Oh, look, some comments. Mizizi, 21 degrees Celsius. Sorry, 20 degrees Celsius. I'm in Canada. We operate on Celsius. So in Fahrenheit, it's probably like 74 or something like that. 72. It wasn't like super hot. It wasn't like 80 or 90 or anything in LA. So that's to kind of answer that. Just got in. You challenge us to quit our job. Yes. I'm challenging you to quit a few things, and I wanted to wait till about the 10-minute mark, till we got some people on the stream, so we're talk about what I'm proposing. So I'm not proposing to give up on anything specifically, but I'm asking you to quit doing some of the things that are keeping you where you are. So for one of them was quit. I was going to focus on 3 points. Just kind of jot them down on a napkin before doing this, kind of back of the envelope, sort of thinking about this, what I want to share in this video. One of them is quit, and I'm personally trying to do this, quit giving a crap what everyone else thinks. And that's what I was getting to with this long rant about family and friends and people even in the network who are telling you you can't do something. And that's always been a huge motivator for me. When someone says, Mike, you can't do this. Mike, you can't have 1,000 properties in London. You came from nothing. You're a no one. You're still a no one. That motivates the hell out of me. So when people tell me, Mike, you can't do something, I love to do it. That's just me. That's just who I am. I like to push against the grain. It's just who I've always been. So I'm asking you to quit listening to those people, those naysayers who are saying you can't do something, because you can. You really honestly can. And the second point tied into that is you actually have to do something to ensure that you can actually get to where you want to be. Saying I want to be somewhere is one thing. You got to take action on what you want to do. And so the big piece there, I think, related to that would be quit. So quit listening to the naysayers. Quit consumerism is the second point. So unsubscribe to like you need the latest and greatest smartphone, unless you need that for your business, in which case you can make a business case for that item. But stop consuming needlessly and endlessly, and stop being the average person in North America who's driving that new car, or they got like car payments because they bought a car that's way too expensive, the one they can't afford. They aren't following the general rule of thumb, right? That you should really be only buying 10% of your income should go to a car. So you make 50 grand a year, you should have a $5,000 car. You make $100,000 a year, the biggest car you could ever have is a $10,000 valued car. What that means is, effectively, you got to be very, very wealthy to drive like you never buy a new car because you get the depreciation curve makes no sense. And I'll do a video on that another time. But there's like 3 places on the depreciation curve for a car where you want to actually buy a car and where you want to sell a car. You don't want to typically, the last tail you can actually ride the car all the way till it dies. It depends on where in the journey the car is, but for the most part, if you're buying like a newer car, it's 3 years old, there's a point where you need to sell that car. And every car has a different depreciation curve, and you got to figure out by going online, looking at the values, where that curve is, and kind of make that executive decision. But we're talking about 3 things you got to quit, right? I'm challenging you guys to quit things. 1, quit listening to the naysayers that are telling you can't do things. 2, quit being a consumer. And 3, I challenge you to quit the things you don't like in your life. This is financial independence. This is what I'm getting into when I talk about a lot of people, they have a job they don't enjoy and they want to quit their job. But what I'm asking you to do is quit the negative behaviors, right, that leave you in that situation. So what are you doing? What can you change in your life? What can you quit? What can you drop? Is there a friend who's always demotivating you, saying, man, let's just go smoke weed and hang out? Like, you don't need financial independence. That person you might want to distance yourself from. Is there that toxic coworker that's telling you no? If you're not like me where that motivates you, because by the way, when someone tells me I can't do something that motivates me, say it again for the 5th time. But if you're not like me, because everyone's a little different, quit that person, right? Quit that job even. I know people who are at the point where they can be financially independent. They just had to invest their capital in a better way. Those people can quit their jobs. If you're on the edge, quit. There's nothing wrong with quitting, as long as I think you're pursuing your goals and focusing towards your passions and aligning your life to one where you're happy. So that's what I'm challenging you guys to do. Quit listening to your parents. That's the thing. Let's get some questions here. Hey, Mike, wondering if you insure your properties at replacement cost value or actual cash value? Jake Wing. Jake, great question. So insurance, talking about insurance in general and real estate, my core belief used to always be we should always self-insure. I'm such a frugal guy. I figured that I would be able to save up the payments I would have made to an insurance company and save them for myself. And in the long term, I'd be further ahead because insurance companies make a ton of profit and they're extremely hella inefficient. They waste a lot of money on administrative costs and things like that. So I figure insurance is a waste of money. Now, with that in mind, I like to still have some risk downside protection today. So my current strategy is, and by the way, if you're buying a property with a mortgage on it, and you should always buy properties with mortgages on them, don't buy them in cash. But if you're buying property with a mortgage on it, you want to make sure that the bank is satisfied. The bank will not put a mortgage on a property without fire insurance on the property. So you need basic fire liability insurance of $1 million here in Canada. A lot of people are recommending 2 and 3 million. I'm a big fan of 2 million liability coverage, but I put a $5,000 deductible on most of my properties. And the reason for that is I believe that anything less than $5,000 isn't worth putting through the insurance company. My basement floods, my floors are ruined, my baseboards are ruined, and my drywall is wet. That's a $5,000 fix. So a flooded basement, I don't ever want protection for that. A roof gets torn apart, never more than $5,000 to fix the roof. I can't think of anything except for a house burning down or someone dying in a property that would actually cause any real issue. When I buy properties, I have 1% of the purchase price set aside as a contingency always. So if you buy a $500,000 property, you better make damn sure you get $5,000 minimum set aside for those things. So I like to have at least my deductible there. And honestly, if you make a claim to your insurance company, chances are your premiums are going to be increased by more than the claim over the long term, because you're not going to be claims free anymore. So there are some distinct disadvantages to making claims on insurance. I've never made a claim on insurance ever, not for a car. I've had car accidents, not that were reported, of course. I would always settle things outside of court because you don't want that on your record. I would pay someone $2,000 cash to not file insurance. I just avoid insurance because insurance companies are a pretty big scam. But now we're getting into talking more specifically about insurance with this great question. Hey Tommy, welcome on. So your question right below there. Think about replacement cost or actual cash value. Oftentimes, replacement cost is much higher in London, Ontario, I found personally, than actual cash value. So I'm buying properties for $200 that are insured for $350, and it's insane. The insurance companies are saying that these properties I'm buying in like East London for $175,000. They're saying this property would cost us $300,000 to rebuild it. Now, that should be a signal for you guys in your market. If your replacement cost is coming back at way more than what it costs you to buy the property, like a significant margin, there are undervalued assets sitting there. They're trading at below replacement cost. That's arbitrage opportunity. That's a good thing. If that's happening to you, that's a good thing. Shouldn't really be playing too much. Bigger commercial policies, and some insurers will allow you to choose between them. Some insurers will not. They will say replacement value, that's it. That's the only choice you have. You can only play with things like additional optional coverages like ice, storm, water, sewer backup, flooding, etc., natural disasters. There are certain extra coverages, rental income protection, things like that people get. I'm not a huge fan of the smaller protections. I think that they're an upsell that really you're not going to get back. So I really go for the minimum. I'll pay like $500 a year for almost all of my policies and my properties, some $1,000. The biggest properties I think are like $1,500 on the high side. That's if it's a triplex. It's like $500,000 triplex. The reason I think having really affordable insurance, and by the way, that's because I have multiple properties, right? I have car, home, multiple homes. I have a life insurance policy for my daughter, which I only got because the whole life insurance policy on her builds cash value, and it reduced my premiums across the board by $2,000, and the policy cost $400. So I was net up $1,600 by adding life insurance to my bundle of products. Isn't that crazy? I'm not a big life insurance guy, but in this case, it makes a lot of sense. We can actually borrow against the policy when my daughter's old enough, and she can get $25,000 cash payout for education. But anyway, that's besides the point. We're talking about insurance and replacement cost value. So think about this. In the event of a disaster, what are you looking to recoup? Are you looking to rebuild the property? Are you looking to take the cash and run and just sell the land as is? Say, look, house burned down as is. That's something you have to think about when you're trying to make that decision, if you're trying to choose between the two. If you want more coverage, if you're worried about getting a little bit more protection, that's a choice at the individual level, I think. And it comes down to your risk profile. How much risk do you want to take? Are you willing to kind of finagle that and just make a decision for yourself? So I personally, my personal choice is around $2 million liability. That's because I haven't seen many cases go above $2 million, specifically for people dying in properties and fires and stuff like that. So liability is really important. You guys have heard me talk. I actually believe in the $5 million umbrella policy on your property. So you should have an umbrella policy if you can get one for about $5 million. Now that's because I don't think ever two properties will burn down at the same time. So $5 million protects you from everything, no matter what. One umbrella policy. If something ever does happen, knock on wood, right? Nothing's happened yet, but something could happen to you. You never know. In those situations, you want to be protected, because that's where you can lose a lot of money, especially because I'm a big fan of not buying in a corporation. I hold a lot of my properties personally, and there are distinct reasons why you should not own a property commercial, unless it's a really big commercial building in a corporation. There are significant legal, administrative, etc. costs that don't even really shield you. Like, it's actually not even true. If it's called, I'm not going to go into it right now, but it's called piercing the corporate veil. Look it up. Pretty much everyone who owns properties and corporations ends up piercing the corporate veil and therefore making themselves liable, despite being a shareholder and setting up this whole corp to protect themselves. They own these rental properties in corps thinking they're protecting themselves, and they are not, because they're piercing the corporate veil. Very easy to do. Almost everyone pierces the corporate veil. Therefore, as shareholders of the corp or owners of the corp, you are liable personally. So it's the same as if you own it personally. Most of the legal protections aren't really there. Now, I'm not going to throw out any advice because I don't want to get sued, but take a look at it and decide for yourself. But there are significant accounting and administrative costs, associated legal costs associated with setting up corporations, one for each and every property, which is the proper way to do it in a specifically a 3-tiered structure is one I'd recommend if you're going to go down that route. We probably will go down that route at some point. I am a big fan of owning a property personally and having one corporation that is the active corporation at 13.5% tax. I've always operated under that operandi. I own everything personally, and I have a corporation that I flow income through that gets taxed 13.5%. That's always been like one strategy I think works really well. The reason you want to own personally, there's a number of distinct reasons. One, cheaper financing. Two, better insurance, way lower administrative costs. The insurance policy, though, looping back to why this matters for your insurance policy, a good liability insurance policy protects you way more than a corporation ever could. So if you're owning properties personally, please, guys, make sure you take a good liability policy out on the property to protect your assets. If someone dies, you don't want to lose your assets. You want to have that protection there for you. Because a corporation is not going to be there. You're going to pierce the corporate veil more likely than not. And precedent has showed shareholders even 2 layers removed. A company owning another company, the original shareholder was sued in the event of there not being enough insurance to cover in those types of examples. Plus, all the assets in that corp are up for grabs anyway, so you lose all the money in that corp and all the assets in that corp, including the properties in that corp. Still a huge loss. Have good insurance policies. You'll be way better off. You'll save a lot more money than having all those administrative costs. Unless, like I said, you have a big commercial building, in which case it makes a ton of sense. Then the legal costs, administrative costs, and all those additional costs are spread. Also, from a tax perspective, most people are taxed much worse than a corporation that's holding passive real estate assets. In an active corporation, okay, you get 13.5% tax. But if you hold in Canada passive assets inside of a corp, Kevin did a great video on this actually. I watched the first half of it a while back. He did a great video talking about this from a US perspective as well, so check his stuff out. Let him know in the comments that you heard here to check it out. He talks great about some of the US stuff, but exact same message that it makes not a lot of sense to own things inside of a corp. There isn't really a huge advantage to that. Okay, we got a lot of questions. Let's try to get these banged out here. I'm surprised it hasn't come up yet. Like, Mike, what is this dirty little thing on your face? Movember. So I really do believe we should raise some money here for men's health, for prostate cancer, for men's mental health. It's now expanding. It started off as just being about men's health and prostate cancer specifically, but Movember, no shave Movember. Now, most people it's just a mustache, what you're supposed to grow. I've decided just to grow a little goatee. I've been shaving my cheeks and everything nice and clean, but my neck clean, but I'm just leaving this little blonde goatee. And so I apologize for this scraggly thing. If you're seeing this and you're like, Mike, this is so ugly, I can't stand to look at you right now because it's just so gross, this blonde little mustache and goatee. I apologize for that in advance. And in about, what time is it? 9 days? In 9 days, it'll be gone, guys. So enjoy that. And go on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram at Mike Rosehart if you want to see when I do the handlebar extension and shave it. And I might even dye it from blonde to like a darker color just so people can see the actual, or do a close-up or something. So that'll be fun. Men's health, it's important, guys. No one focuses on men's health. That's why in November, I think I've done it now for 7 years in a row. Every single November, I have done it. And now people are talking about this like no shave December. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of December, but that's mostly because my beard is so straggly that it looks like, it just doesn't look very good. It looks like that everywhere. You can't really see these hairs. You guys probably can't see those hairs because they're blonde. Okay, let's keep going. Tommy, how you doing? Jake, if that didn't answer your question, please shoot a follow-up question in the comments. Happy to go in greater depth. Brian Smith says, hey there, Mike. Looking for a mortgage broker in London that is familiar with securing mortgages in a company for residential. Thanks, Brian Smith. We should have an offline conversation. Check out one of my videos I did a while back on, I'm fairly sure one of my first 10 videos earlier this year. I started this YouTube channel, mid or end of March, so it would have been like April, May. I did a video on why, maybe I haven't done a video. I thought I did a video on why you shouldn't own property in a corp, especially if it's residential property. There's distinct advantages to not doing that, and we should have a talk about why you shouldn't do that. Hopefully some of the chat, you were still listening there, Brian Smith, about why you maybe shouldn't, why you really shouldn't be owning property inside of a corp. And if you're going to do it right, and it's going to be very expensive to do it right, and it's going to negate all the benefits that a good insurance policy could just cover you for. From a tax perspective, it's the worst decision. especially holding passive real estate. Now, if you had 6 employees and it becomes an active corp, totally different story. If you have a huge portfolio, then it's a different story. But yeah, I do know some mortgage brokers offline. If you guys send me, I really apologize. If you guys send me an email, I promise I will get back to you guys. I went in this email that's linked in the description of most of my videos. It's like an old email that I forgot about. I had messages back from July and August and June and September. I had like a dozen messages from really great people asking to talk with me about coaching or mentorship, or also talk about us partnering to buy properties together. And I so dropped the ball. I'm so sorry to all those people. If you're watching now, you're one of the loyal subscribers, you're watching the playback right now, let me know in the comments. And if you guys are expecting an email back from me, just keep shoot me an Instagram on DM, or a DM on Instagram, or a private message on Facebook. That's the best way to get a hold of me. I check that very frequently. But if I didn't respond to your email, just grab the email and send it to me again and again and again. And hopefully I'll check the email and get it and get back to you, because I promise to get back to every single person. At this point in the stage in the journey, we're just under 2,500 subscribers, so I can theoretically do that. And I want to be able to keep doing that going forward. But at some point, we're going to have to bring some more people on the team. Kyle's already on the team. We've got some other cool people on the team. Building, like I said, the A team. You want to have those people on your A team to really help you build it up. As you guys know, I've been focusing big time on building the brand and social media. I think brand is really, really important. People won't listen to what you have to say unless you have trust, credibility, brand, reach. All of these things together really help you to get your message out there. Even if your message is like saving puppies in the rainforest, or your message is like you have a nice ass and you want to do booty selfies, like whatever your message is, I think you need to be building a brand and be cognizant of that. Wherever you go, your person is your brand. Even if you don't want to blow that up, you want to stay in the private, you can make something for a company page. So anyway, that's my last plug for that. SGS Snake Eyes 11. How realistic is it to get an ARV high enough to pull all your money out? It seems too good to be true. You guys are going to stay tuned for. I want to do a video series on a bunch of my properties. Do you guys know that I've bought 46 properties in London, Ontario since 2012, and 45 of them since 2014 or 2015. So in the last little while, I've bought a ton of real estate. Now, not all of this has been in my name. A lot of it hasn't been in my name. I've helped friends buy properties for, small cuts of percentages, or, just helping people out. And we buy a lot like joint venture properties. So we got like 16 or 17 now, 18, something like that in the corp right now. And I know I'm behind. Everyone's like, a property a week, Mike, you're behind. You should be at 20 right now. I know. I got an offer right now on 2 properties. Hopefully those come in, and one more actually. So we're gonna get caught up on our cadence of 1 property a week. And I maybe can say this. I probably can. I'm starting a wholesale division as well. WeBuyLondon.ca is the domain, www.WeBuyLondon.ca. I'm bringing some cool people in for that. So if you're interested in wholesaling, you want to get out there, you want to be part of the team, it's like the minimum is $5,000 on a wholesale deal. And we're working on some split where basically you get like half. So if you get to find the deal, I'll help you do all the paperwork and figure it out. If we go knock on doors, drop flyers, we get a lead, we get a property that we can buy privately from someone. Even if we're just saving the commission plus maybe like 5% under market value, that's still like 12% under market value. That's a win for an investor with a pile of cash. It just needs to plop that money somewhere. Way better than market value. And so yeah, we got the whole arm. I'm not really looking to wholesale properties to people, more wholesaling just to my own company. So it's not really wholesaling actually. It's kind of like an acquisitions arm. We're opening an acquisitions arm, We Buy London. So check that out. I'm going to buy London, literally 1,000 properties in London. So we need a team focused on that. And I'm also getting my real estate license as well. So then I can get a hold of that and really explode all pieces, right? So we're going to have multiple companies all trying to feed deals. I'm also partnering with some wholesalers in the area to have them feed deals, because I just need more deals. And I don't want to lower my quality. I want 1,000 properties, but I want the 1,000 properties in London that are all 1.5% rule, 1 to 2% rule properties, meaning a $200,000 property renting for $3,000 a month. I've also started doing some new strategies. We're Airbnb-ing, which is going really well. We're going to blow that up. We're going to do $100,000 a month in revenue on Airbnb for our investors. It's going to become huge. $1.2 million real estate Airbnb business here in London. We're just going to blow different areas out. We're already doing the student rental game. You guys know I've been doing that for a while. So we're changing our strategy a little bit and tweaking and pivoting a little bit. I want to show some numbers here in London about what you can do with student rentals. People think you can only get like 400 or 500 a bedroom. I've gotten like 650, 700 a bedroom, no problem. On Airbnb, you can get more. There are certain strategies you have to apply here to do that. And so there's a lot of nuances and pieces to that. But I want to share some real deals that I've done to answer your question and loop back to ARV. I have bought properties before. Here's a real deal. Jason, if you're in the comments, usually Jason's here. I don't know. He probably is watching. Jason, our property, you can attest to that. Like we bought it at 227 and we did nothing to it, zero. We put a tenant in the lower. We did no renovations, nothing. And I got an appraisal for 325,000 on that. So the 80% loan to value, a mortgage now is being registered for 80% on that property, which is like 265,000 or something. We bought for 227, so we're negative 40,000 down. I'm not talking zero down. I'm talking getting all your money back and then some. Those deals are not all the time. Like they're very unicorn, and you can't guarantee them. We went into this property thinking we would get an ARV of like 275 to 290. The appraisal went really well because we got really good rent placements. And just things happened to work out really nice for this appraisal. This doesn't always happen, but if you go at it enough times, you get the right appraiser. By the way, I've had really bad appraisers too, and there's tons of stories on that where I've had appraisers appraise $325,000 value properties for $240,000. They should be sued actually because there's a $90,000 discrepancy. To be that off, you should be fired as an appraiser. To be that off for market value. So I've had both. I've had ups and downs. They're always conservative because they're hired by the bank to find value, so they will always err on the lowest side of value. Thankfully, this market's been really good in London, and so it's getting easier and easier to buy properties at 2017 pricing and then get them with an ARV at 2018 pricing. So we're in a bit of a unicorn market. I would say with the BRRRR strategy, you should be able to get most of your down payment back, most of it. Now, that isn't always a guarantee. It doesn't always happen. Some properties aren't that good, but we try and aim for that, and it is totally possible. Half of my properties I was able to BRRRR before I really knew how to master the strategy. Half of them I wasn't, and so either way, your rate of return. I don't know any investor that I'm partnered with that gets less than 25% rate of return. So I mean, we're getting a 25% rate of return or higher. Often when you factor in things like a forced arbitrage, forced appreciation or arbitrage, not market appreciation, but arbitrage, they're getting 50 and 60% rates of return, which is insane. That sort of cash flow is and that sort of appreciation is just unheard of. We talk about cash flow. There are ways to get like insane amounts of cash flow here in London. Doing models like they do in Windsor, where they get like put in like way too many bedrooms, like 10 bedrooms in a house or 12 bedrooms in a house, non-legally, because you're only allowed 5 in a house in Ontario, unless it's got exemption license or it's a duplex, which you get 5 and 5, or a triplex, 5, 5, and 5. So without going to that strategy, because that strategy actually hurts your resale value. You don't get great appraisals because the market value rent isn't what you're getting in rent. So I try to focus also on upside from an arbitrage perspective. So how do we get a really good refi on the property? It's not just about cash flow, because we make probably way more, like that investor there, where he's going to make $1,500, let's say, a month in cash flow hypothetically, but the refi provides $70,000 or $80,000. That's like 70 months of cash flow. So if you can get a really good arbitrage opportunity where you're buying property worth 325 in the open market for like 200 something all in, then there's a huge amount of upside there when you can flip and have cash flow. That's really the ideal sort of strategy there. And I don't flip residential properties. And I'll do some more videos on the actual deals we're doing. I'll walk you guys through a bunch of deals. We'll pick like 10, and you can see how we're actually doing it in London, Ontario, and why people want to partner with us instead of just buying properties themselves. I can't tell you how many times I meet people who have bought properties here in London, or guys for like 60 who've owned properties in London for 30 years. You think they'd be veterans and know what they're doing, and they're just not efficient investors. That's not any fault of their own. They just didn't have a good strategy to follow, and they're buying the wrong types of properties. One property can outperform 2 bad properties in London, and both are on the MLS. And how do you know which one to pick? And how do you know the upside? It just comes with experience. There are formulas to follow and that sort of thing. So, yeah. To answer your question, hopefully that was good enough for you. Let me know if you had follow-up questions. Happy to kind of talk about that in further depth here. Want to ask you, Blake. Hey, Blake, how you doing? Want to ask you about a situation for a friend. He rents a 3-bedroom right downtown for $1,100 and it just sold. The new owner told him he wants them to leave after their lease is done in April. Of course he does, because they're renting below market value. Quit listening to your parents. Michael Chung, good point. If your parents aren't behind you 100%, so maybe they're supporting you, in which case listen to your parents. Okay, so he can renovate or rebuild. Is that allowed, or could my friend squat it out so he doesn't want to move? Blake, great question. So the Residential Tenancy Act, right, the RTA, that is the LTB uses to basically govern landlord-tenant relations, states that in order to be evicted for on the sale of a property, basically two things need to happen. One, the new owner, has to buy it and prove they're going to live there for 1 year, which most sellers, most people selling the property can't get the buyer to do, or the buyer doesn't want to do that. The other option is that they get a building permit. If they get a building permit to renovate, there's a process they can go through. They can evict the tenant, and the tenant can move back in after the renovations are done at an agreed upon rent that is fair. And usually it's below market value. So really, it's the RTA is poorly written to support the tenant. And so the truth of it is, honestly, your friend doesn't really have to leave. And until he's served by the LTB, and even then, he probably won't even get, he'll probably win the landlord-tenant board if he got some free legal help, because tenants get free help, landlords have to pay for help. Landlords have to pay to take him to the tribunal. It is almost, if the tenant explained all this and said, hey, it's like $1,000 for you as landlord to go and get me out, best case scenario. And by the way, if the owner moves in, you got to pay them 1 month's rent as well. So it's 1 month's rent plus all the legal costs, the time in court, the filing fees, etc. It's almost always better for your friend. Like this landlord would probably pay your friend $1,500 cash to leave, $2,000 cash to leave. So don't leave for free. Why would you? Especially if you have a tenancy going. So that's my 2 cents on that. Now, of course, if I had a tenant, there are other, like I have strategies that I can use to get these people out, but I guarantee their landlord isn't going to be that ambitious, I guess would be the word maybe. How can I convince my wife to quit her job? She doesn't like the job and it causes her stress, but she likes the stability that comes with a job. This is an interesting conversation I actually had with Jacob Lundfisker from Early Retirement Extreme. And we were chatting about his wife actually works. And we were talking about this specifically around structure. Some people need structure in their lives. Not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur. And they quit their jobs and they're extremely depressed because they don't have that structure in their lives. And so they have to go volunteer somewhere at basically a job. What I would say is find your wife something she enjoys more. Maybe it has better hours. Maybe she volunteers at like an animal rescue or something. And she can do that from 10 to 4. And it's relaxed hours and it's volunteer. Or maybe it's very low paying or not for profit, doing something she's really passionate about. That's what I proposed to her. I would say, why don't you shift directions, honey, and focus on this? You love this. We're okay financially. We've got this. Do this job. Or maybe it's a not-profit that doesn't pay as well as her current job, but provides some financial stability, and she can feel like she's earning something, contributing to the household. So maybe it's part of that. And we'd have to have a deeper conversation on what her motivations were, and then target those motivations. If it's financial security, maybe she wants to feel like she's secure. You got to show her that you're secure. And if she still feels like she wants to contribute to the household, maybe you give her some tasks that'll help her add value, or whatever. Maybe buy a property and you say, look, this is yours to manage on. If she enjoys that, I don't know. Just ideas, just spitballing ideas for you. Okay. How can we read that question? Do you think creating a product or service is usually a pipe dream, whereas real estate is more of a sure thing, provided you put in the work? Yes, totally, 100%. I wouldn't get on here and tell you guys affiliate marketing is the way, drop shipping is the best thing ever, Shopify, FBA, all you can just do this, guys. It's so easy. Pick a product, you'll make so much money. Because you know what? 99% of people lose money doing these things. They try ventures out and they fail. It's the reason I couldn't quit my job until I was financially independent. I was afraid that entrepreneurship wouldn't work out, and for good reason. Because if you look at the data, most entrepreneurs fail. That's why I recommend unlocking financial independence, FIRE first, or buying some properties or something to unlock a cheap version of FIRE. It's kind of like cheating because you didn't really save your way there, is to buy real estate. Because you can retire on like 200 grand in properties, which is 200 grand in properties is like, you can lever that up and buy like 500,000 or 700,000 in really good cash flowing properties. And so you can live on that, right? And that's really important, I think, to realize that you can cheat FIRE. There are different ways to do that. And people cheat FIRE with entrepreneurship too, but it's very high risk. Real estate is a proven strategy. You literally buy properties, you follow a method, it's safe, it's tangible, it's not going anywhere. My downside when I buy a real estate deal is like the worst deal I've ever done. I made like $5,000. Now it's because I bought with such a discount, like that everything else failed and we made $5 grand. I don't think property value could drop 5 or 10% and I would still make money because I'm buying so far below market value and I have such good cash flow. And people who are buying with $100 a month positive cash flow per door, $100 a door is not enough. $200 a door is not enough. Those people buying those weaker properties in Toronto and those sorts of places, they're taking big risk. There are people in London buying at $100 cash a door, and I don't know why they're doing that because you can get way better in London. But anyway, basically, if you're investing in the right real estate strategy, because real estate itself, you can be a developer in real estate and lose everything. People take big risk on land developments that the city rejects their proposal and they lose everything. The land's worth nothing. And there's examples where in real estate, if you're buying for speculation or gentrification or appreciation, not just for cash flow and arbitrage, you stand to take a huge risk. Let's say you're buying student rentals in a small market like Sarnia. You're trying to do student rentals in Sarnia, Ontario. If the college ever got shut down or went on strike or something happened where there was a year got kicked out, your business is done. You rely just on premium student rentals in Sarnia, Ontario. That's risky. So I never do any one business. Like you'll see that I have like student rentals, I have multifamily, I have single family. We're doing Airbnb. We have a variety of real estate holdings. Diversification is very important. There are many real estate strategies that are taught by Keyspire and all those guys that are not sure things, that you can lose money in real estate. So just be very careful. That's what I have to say on that. Is just be careful. In entrepreneurship, you can invest $10,000, $20,000 in an idea or a product, and it could flop. Two different people could take the same idea, and one could be Mark Zuckerberg, the other guy's broke on the street, and the idea didn't take off because he didn't meet the right people at the right time. His network wasn't good enough. Whatever it is, like maybe just a bit of luck. One slight difference in the UI of the program causes it to fail. People don't like it, whatever. This is very easy to fail in entrepreneurship, which is why I think entrepreneurs should come from a place of FU money, like the fuck you money. Sorry to swear on YouTube, but the FU money is really important because then if the business fails, I'll F you, I'll just start another one, right? If you don't have to go back and crawl back to an employer and say, please give me a job. I have no money, I can't support my family. I would say take your money, put it aside, like make your enough that you need, or maybe it's your real estate portfolio of like 5 properties, and that's what you need to live on, your strong 5 cash flowing properties, or your strong 3 cash flowing properties. I have 2. You could pick 2 properties from my portfolio and live on that. I have 2 properties that cash flow almost $2,000 a month each, and so those ones would be like, you can get properties like that that are really juicy, right, and live on that. So there are ways to and those are unicorn properties. Like you're not going to always get those kinds of deals, but there are properties out there that you can really squeeze the juice out of them, and they require higher maintenance often. Like you're at the property, it's almost like a part-time job, but at least you don't have to go and crawl back to a job. So something to think about. Hey Mike, in a previous video you said your wife took out a commuted value from her pension plan. Can you describe how that works? Do you get employer's contributions, and can you use that money? Yes. So it's called vesting. There are 2 types of pensions. There are defined benefit and defined contribution pension plans. Defined contribution, you contribute a percentage and your employer matches. Say you put in 5%, up to 5% of your salary, your employer will match up to 5% of your salary. That's the cap. You can put in more if you want, but the company will stop at that percentage. And then you get 10% of your salary put into a pension plan, and you can bring it with you when you leave into an RRSP. You can commute the value. With a defined benefit pension plan, think government pension workers, teachers. Most of the government workers, there was some private pensions like Ford Motors, GM, Sears. There was a lot of defined benefit pension plans back in the 80s when interest rates were really high. Companies got together and said, wow, I can put in like nothing, invest the employees' money, put in like 1% of their salary into this fund at 19%, and we'll have enough to pay them a percentage of their salary for the rest of their life, and they'll be taken care of. It was a really cool idea, but in a low interest rate environment, those defined benefit pension plans they've agreed to are failing because they relied on 10 and 15% rates of return, not 2 and 3%. So if your company offers a defined benefit pension plan, the legislation states the company has to top up to ensure there's enough in the pension plan to support you at, say, whatever percentage of your salary they've promised you at retirement. So 65%, let's say 70% of your salary. Teachers are getting like 20% of their salary thrown into a defined benefit pension plan. They're putting like 5%. So the company's putting insane amounts of money to fund these pension plans because they're short. They have big shortfalls because the interest rate environment isn't good enough. So if you can choose between defined contribution and defined benefit, always defined benefit. Now there's a vesting period with a pension, typically 2 to 3 years. It's called vesting. So if you have to have the pension plan open and be contributing to it, and it has to vest for 3 years. So she had vested, I think at this point, up to a certain point. She hadn't invested all of it, but it was like a staged vesting plan. And so she was able to commute all of her contributions, all of the growth, and a percentage of her employer's contributions. Now, if she had been there like 5-10 years, she would have been able to commute all of it into a LIRA, a locked-in retirement account. But in this case, you can commute to an RSP, etc. So there are things you can do like that when you leave the company. You can bring that with you. at the commuted value and just let it grow. Now, it's not going to be sometimes they'll give you a percentage, like 10% of your salary for the rest of your life when you turn 65 because you didn't put in enough years. But oftentimes they just give you commuted value. You just bring that out. You can lend out of your RRSP. People who don't know that, you can lend mortgages on properties out of your RRSP through third-party companies like Olympia Trust. You can lend out your TFSA too. There's a thing called an RSP TFSA melt I want to do a video on, where you can actually basically take all the money in your RSP and thaw it into your TFSA slowly using a first and second mortgage strategy, which is really cool. One at 20% interest rate and just fund the money into your TFSA. Really cool strategy to get a TFSA up to $1 million, so you can get all that income coming in tax-free. The government's going to lock up this loophole, but the thing is, those who have got in while the loophole existed, who built those TFSAs huge, the government almost never retracts those programs. Like those people who have those huge life insurance policies way beyond the caps that are generating like $50,000 a year in tax-free income. They're protected before, I think it was 1983 or 91. So there are, that's right now a loophole. You guys should, I should do a video on that. I think that personal finance video would do well. You guys like real estate, right? So you want to see me talking about real estate. But tell me if you like that. If I could do an RSP melt, TFSA melt type video. RSP melt is the actual name of the video, but I don't know how many people are searching that. So I have to think of a clickbaity title. On investments, and can you withdraw it before a certain age without any setback? So it depends. You have to read the fine print of the pension plan. Oftentimes you're locked into the LIRA. You have to commute it over to a locked-in retirement account to age 55 to get out of it. In this case, my wife didn't. They let her get out of it, but she took a lesser amount, right? I've defined employee benefit contribution because I work for the government. I know, so you have a defined benefit plan probably. Free money, wondering how it would work if I'm fired in 5 to 10 years. Typically that one option is you just let it keep growing and then you get a smaller percentage at retirement. But yeah, you won't lose it because you've been there long enough. It'll probably be vested. Hey Mike, any chance you could talk closer to the mic? I have my headphones all the way up and I still can't hear you. Okay, let's try that. Let's see if I can get this a little bit closer. Is this better, guys? Hang on, let me try something here. Is it better now? I think the computer might be turned down a little bit because we're on a different setting now. We could try and play with it a little bit, see if it's any better. Testing. Hello, people. Can you hear me? Is it better now, guys? Nice and loud. One thing I forgot to do, which I promised I would do, guys, is I promised I would do shoutouts. So people who checked out my last video, I placed 2 secret red screens. The audio continues, so if you're listening by podcast, you would never know. But if you're watching my video, I placed 2 screens, one midway through and one towards the end. And that's all I'm going to give you guys. But there was some shoutouts there for people who found those. And so they get shout out. Mad props to them. First one is George Gubis. Big shout out, man. You were the first person to text me about it. And I hadn't had a chance to write in the comment that it was a promotion, a shout out. Those people who are watching now who haven't checked out my recent video, why you should be on social media, watch that, find those 2 red screens, comment on it, and I'll do a shout out next Wise Wealth Wednesday to you. The first person to find it in the comments here was JJ Buckner. Big shout out. You found it there. And I don't think there's anyone else who commented. A bunch of people liked it, so maybe they found it and just didn't say anything. Big shout out to Aiden O'Hara because he also found it and messaged me about it. Who else gave me a message about it? I think that was it. Let's see any more comments. Why have you guys not gone on that video? Found those. I might even plant another one next video just to see if people watch the videos. It's a way of creating engagement. I thought about also doing giveaways too to increase engagement and try to grow the channel. I see some YouTubers do that. So what do you guys think about that? Is that something I should be doing? Was it smart? Did you like that last video? If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. I've been throwing out pictures and trying new strategies to entertain you guys while I talk about relevant topics. Hopefully this is louder. I know I was talking a little quieter before. I'm going to intentionally try to talk louder now. Do you believe in global warming? Dan Penna says banks won't finance condos in Florida if sea levels were to rise. What do you think? Michael Chung, good question. I actually do believe in global warming. I think it's probably the case. I've seen water levels, like temperatures are rising. Whether it's the global warming that talks about, like there are some pieces of global warming that talk about the next ice age coming, and we're bringing it on faster than what normally the Earth goes through cycles, right? Like in 10,000 years, we're going to have another ice age. And that's just the nature of the Earth, right? You look at the Earth's cycle. We've gone through ice ages and warm periods, and the Earth's climate changes, right? It's just the way that it is. Things don't just stay the same. So that's just the nature of it. However, it'll be so many years from now, we probably won't have an issue to our kids' will be having issues with this. I do think we should be making a change. I don't know for sure about 98% of scientists believe in global warming. It's a thing. It's not just a made-up conspiracy. Yeah. Interesting though about floodplains and talking about water rising, because there's places along the Thames River here in London, Ontario, where banks have talked to me before about this being too close to the floodplain. It's a risk. When you go into the city to build, they don't let you put a basement in all along the river. All those houses have basements, but if you build a new house, they won't let you put it on a basement. They make you put your house starting 7 feet in the air too, with just crawl space. So very interesting that they're planning in the City Planning Act for those things. Why would they be doing that if they didn't believe it was an actual real possibility? Why would the building code talk about that? Because I guess the 100-year floodplain, within 100 years, we're going to have years where there's water levels are high. And that's just the nature of it. And so that's a risk investing in beachfront property. I would say if you're going to be investing in those properties, probably just buy properties that are built on stilts, that are maybe concrete piers or steel piers, probably prepared to handle some water. Maybe ones without basements, obviously. There are things you could do, I think, to protect yourself. I don't know. I haven't read that article about that, so that's interesting that they wouldn't protect certain condos or wouldn't, finance certain condos. Interesting. I'm sure their insurance companies would find a way out of paying too. They always seem to. Okay, awesome response. Thanks, Mike. I really like your videos that dig into specific topics like that. Particularly enjoyed your CMHC video. Jake Wing, thank you so much. That was a great video where I talked about why you shouldn't have private mortgage insurance and why CMHC doesn't always make sense. In most situations, it doesn't. It makes more sense to go borrow the difference between 5% down and 20% down at 15% interest rate from someone. It's actually a better strategy. Go check out that video if you want to know why. Check out some of the Wise Wealth shows that I've done if you want to know why. Okay. Hopefully it's nice and loud. Good there. Is the 1% rule and cap rate calculated on ARV price target or the purchase price? There are two ways you can calculate it. People do it on purchase price. People do it on purchase price plus what they've spent in the property. This is what I like to do. I do purchase price plus what I'm going to spend in the property to calculate my cap rates and my 1% rules. Some people use 1% rule all inclusive of utilities. Some people use 1% rule plus utilities. So depends. Like a student rental that brings in $2,400 a month inclusive is the same as a student rental that's $2,000 a month plus utilities. Now, if this property is selling for $240,000, is it a 1% real property or is it a 0.9% real property? That people argue about what is the definition of 1% rule, and I've heard it used many different times in many different ways. My line of thought is be conservative, right? You might as well try to be conservative and factor in at purchase price plus all your renovations thrown in. If you want to be really conservative, you could say at ARV. What ends up happening though is I look at the ARV of my properties and they're worth I buy them for 200, I put 50 into them, they're 250,000 all into the property, and it's renting for $3,000 a month. Now that means in this market today, it'll sell for $400,000. So that's crazy, right? You're thinking ARV is way high, Mike. You just made $150,000. That happens all the time. That's consistently what's happening. Now at ARV, at current market value now, my property is not 1% rule. So I'll look at my portfolio and say, I have a ton of equity sitting in this property, and I'll sell that property. If I can't get a good refinance on it for what I'm looking for and pull the money out, I will sell the property and pull that money out and buy 3 or 4 more that are at 1% rule. And markets change too. I have neighborhoods in Northwest that I was buying houses $160,000 per semi, 5-bedroom, 2-bath semi. And now those properties are worth 300s, right? And so the numbers don't make the same amount of sense that they made before, right? Because before I bought it for $160,000, it was running for $1,700 a month or $1,800. I think it was $1,850 a month plus all utilities. So it's 1.25%, 1.5% real property. Today it's 0.5% real property. So I sell those properties, right? Unless you're going to live in the property or house hack it, it doesn't make sense in your rental portfolio. You might decide you want to sell that property to rebalance and buy in a worse area that has better cap rate. So do the rebalance. I talked in a video about this. The real estate rebalance is the strategy I call it. Really, really good strategy. A lot of people do the buy and hold forever. It's a really dumb strategy. You should be optimizing for returns. You should want to get the best deal you can when you buy a property. You should always want to rebalance your portfolio. It's like saying I'm going to buy shares in Apple, I'm going to buy Bitcoin, and I'm never going to sell it. It's no. There's nothing wrong with selling and rebalancing your portfolio. You don't want one property to consume too much of the equity of your portfolio. You want a diverse, balanced portfolio. So That means changing the properties in your portfolio on occasion in a tax efficient manner. Of course, you don't want to sell them all at once. You want to trigger them over a year, maybe one a year or something, right? You can rebalance. So you got to think of it in the larger scheme of things, that sort of thing. So hopefully that added value. Hopefully that was a good response. Mike, do you partake in No Nut November? I don't even know what that is. No, I actually have an idea. Yeah. Now that Kyle's laughing, I have an idea. I have an idea what it is. What the hell is that? What? That's a weird question, man. That's a weird question. It's a pretty troll. But no, you had a good question earlier, so it's all good. No, I don't know anything about that. Tiger Rocks, what's up, Mike? Thoughts on starting a general contracting business in 2019 for real estate investors? Tiger, it's a great question. I basically have one. You guys maybe don't know this. I don't know if I've shared this in a video yet. We've brought on some people full time. We have basically our own general contracting business, and we are basically doing that. Like I pay out salaries and I allocate the hours, and then I send an invoice to the investor. So we already do have a contracting company. Watch Kevin's video though about how they can fail. Be very careful with contracting businesses. We've been okay because I'm really focused on like cost control, right? And so I make sure that we haven't run amok, but we should have a higher profit margin because we're running. I don't try to make money from the contracting business. I guess that's sort of what I'm trying to say is like it's a loss leader for me. The same way property management is a loss leader for me. I make my money on basically the investor making a ton of money on forced depreciation. So when we have $100,000 upside on the property, I get like half of that. So that's where I make most of my money. And the property management is an expectation. They expect that I'm going to manage the property from A to Z, tenant placement all the way through. My investors expect me to have a handyman or two on staff, not just someone I work with, but on staff that I can send. And we do. We have like they work for us 40 hours a week, and we give them a schedule. And we're building a business with real employees here. So yeah, I do have that going right now, but I'm not bidding on any jobs that aren't for my investors. So I'm not in it to make money. I'm in it as a service for my investor. Yeah, we're not trying to like go bankrupt here. Obviously, we're trying to have a business that doesn't go bankrupt, enough to cover administrative costs and that sort of thing. But yeah, Jake Wing, apologies if you haven't talked about this. If you have talked about this in the past, but what is your approach to finding significantly below market deals? That's a whole video in and of itself. But one of them is wholesaling. Private deals are really important. Like flyers, knocking on doors. The network is really key. You meet an investor who's tired, an older guy, he's got 10 properties, wants to just be done with it, right? Because money doesn't matter anymore to them. They'd be a great person you want to buy a portfolio from. MLS. People underestimate the MLS. Half of my deals come off the MLS. I know half of them are private, but half of them come from the MLS. And there's a ton of good deals in the MLS. We have a property right now closing in Summit Ave. People know like the condos there. About for $217,000. They're selling for $270 right now. Now it's not a smoking deal, but it's a decent deal, and we can rent it on Airbnb probably for $35,000 or $4,000 a month for $217,000 purchase price. Right now, it could sell for $270 as is. That was a private deal, but as an example of like deals are everywhere. Like the bull market deals are everywhere. This one had a really bad tenant in it, so we had to get the tenant out. That added a lot of value. Without that tenant in the property, it's worth $50,000, $60,000 more. Same with renovations. You change some floors and paint, all of a sudden a place is worth $50,000 more, and it costs you $5,000, $10,000 to do that work. Then it's a good value add. Sometimes you're buying at market, but changing the use of the property. So as a single family, this house sells for $200,000. I transform it into a duplex legally, and all of a sudden it's worth a lot more. Or a property doesn't have a rental license, and I put a rental license on it and get it all legal. Now it's a legal rental property, totally different market. Or I change the tenants out and get better market rents. Boom, the cap rate goes way up. Property worth a ton more. On MLS, there are tons and tons of deals. You gotta look for them. Like I have people sending me properties. Like I have 2 or 3 agents that send me MLS listings. So I get almost everything that goes in the market. Almost everything on MLS I've seen, pretty much. There are 1 or 2 that might slip my eyes, but I see everything on MLS. And oftentimes, my first pass at the property, I think this is a bad deal. And then I get looking at it again, and I'm like, you know what? There's a play here. A lot of properties have an angle or a play or a way to transform them to create cash flow. Don't get me wrong, 8 out of 10 properties I'm sent will never work. So 80% of rental properties that are owned by landlords are crap. They're junk. And that's unfortunate to say that 8 out of 10 landlords don't know what they're doing. There's properties like King Edward, guys, that 12-plex on King Edward Ave. It's like $1 million. That's a terrible deal. Terrible. Whoever buys that, I'm sorry. You should have reached out to me because I've been through that property. I've actually done building inspection on that property for an investor. And We're so glad that they pulled out because we're getting them into now 3 other deals. And they're going to have, from those 3 small properties, a fourplex, a duplex, and a triplex, those 3 properties are worth like 500 something thousand we bought them for, total purchase price. And it's generating the same kind of cash flow that this $1 million 12plex is generating. We're in the same market. They're both on MLS, but total discrepancy differences here. Bad pictures, bad listings. They list it as a 2-bed, 1 bath. I went on like, this is like totally a 5-bed, 3 bath. Why have they listed it this way? Or there's one little thing like a ductwork that makes it an illegal basement because it's below 6.5. I go in there, I put in new ductwork. Boom, we're at 6.5 headroom. It's like, what? We put in pancake ducts. It's done. Like it's as easy as that to fix problems that the listing agent can't call them legal bedrooms because they're not 6.5 headrooms. So they don't list the 2 bedrooms in the basement or the bathroom. All of a sudden, boom, we change the headroom by lifting ductwork up. Big difference. Put an egress window in a room. Now it's a legal bedroom. Now we've just added $20,000 to the purchase price. So there are totally ways to buy properties below market value on MLS. But you don't get there right away. Like my first deal was probably not that good. I bought at market value because I didn't know any better. Now I added value by renovating it and that sort of thing back in 2012. And so I still made money, but you're not always gonna, your first and second properties are not gonna be your best properties unless you're like JVing with someone who's a pro. And even then, you never know. Something can happen, right? Like, there's no guarantee on your first property, but if you do like 5 deals and you follow this strategy, you will make consistently above market returns as a real estate investor. So that's my thought on buying deals below market value. Jason, you didn't miss the deal. I actually talked about you earlier. So check the rewind. Tommy, thanks, appreciate that. Cole says contractor versus real estate agent to create initial capital, or both. Cole, great question. I'm doing both. I'm basically a contractor now, and I'm just basically getting my real estate license now and doing the wholesaling. And I was a real estate investor first, so I think as a real estate agent, you add the most value if you're a real estate investor yourself first. You know the product that you're selling. You're not just selling things for the sake of it, because no one likes a slimy, salesy realtor. At the same time, you need to know how to negotiate and be a good negotiator. I think you'll make a lot more in real estate sales right now than you will as a contractor, because you're going to be trading less time for money. That's just my thought. I also think that in real estate as an agent, you're going to build a lot more network connections than as a contractor. But I think real estate investors should renovate their first couple properties themselves if they want to be the active manager. If you want me to manage it all for you and you don't ever plan to manage your properties, that's cool. Like, you don't need to learn this. But if you're just young starting out and you want to do this, do what I did and buy properties and fix them up. If you want to manage trades, you have to have done what the trade is doing. Like, for me to know how a guy is doing the plumbing job, I have to have done the plumbing myself first. I have to have seen it done a bunch of times and then tried it myself. I have to know how to insulate, board, frame. I know how to do all of it. Like, there isn't much. I can cut an egress window myself. I cut into the concrete and put a lentil in. I know how to do all of that. Now, that's because I've seen it done so many times. I've done it myself. I learned how to do that. Once you learn how to do something, I think you can elevate past having to do it. Most cases, what I found is that now I know how to do it. I could train someone for $30 an hour to do that exact same task, or $25 an hour to do that exact same task. So my thoughts are, if you want to get into real estate and do the fix and flip, where you're doing a lot of renovating, you're not buying turnkey properties, then you definitely want to have that experience of understanding how construction works, how a house gets built. But at the same time, my business partner he didn't come from a background in construction. He didn't slug the hammer for 6-7 years on his own properties, but he's learning. So, I mean, you can partner with someone who knows and has that expertise and bring your things together in that sense. So that's something you can think about. I would definitely say real estate agent will give you better connections. You'll earn capital a lot faster. Contractors have a hard time making money because they underquote their jobs. They're trading time for money and they get burned a lot. Contractors get burned a lot. It's a really, really bad business. That's why there's almost no good contracting companies out there. When they finally do get really good, they move into buying properties or something, right? They get out of offering the services. So it's very difficult to make ends meet as a contractor. It's a very hard business. Meet Kevin again. Check out his video and comment that you came from my channel that I sent you over there. Check out his video on that. He talks about why you shouldn't have a contracting business, why it's $7 to change a light bulb, why it's just really expensive because of the overhead and stuff. So Mike, I appreciate that. So much knowledge. Thank you. That's why I'm trying to put this out there. For the last 8 years, I've absorbed like a sponge everything that I can learn. Not to say that I'm empty, because you know what? I got a lot of room left to absorb. A lot of things I got to learn still yet from people. I'm learning a ton. Checking out the 10X Grant Cardone 10X Growth Conference in Miami from February 1st to February 3rd. Really excited for that. Going with a friend of mine. We're going to crush. Came back from Real Estate Mastermind thinking I'm going to crush social media. I'm going to blow businesses up. You guys look out. I will be a billionaire. Mark my words. We are at, I don't know what time we're at. Someone tell me what time we're at in this video. It's 8:10 right now, 8:10 p.m. I'm saying it. Mike Rosehart will be a billionaire in his lifetime. Before I die, I'll be a billionaire. And it's not even a joke. Like, I want someone right now to tell me no, because you know what? I'm gonna prove you wrong. So we're gonna blow stuff up, have some fun with it. Cool, getting some messages there on my phone. We're gonna wrap this up pretty soon here. I'm not feeling that great. Want to get some rest, so I'll probably wrap this up pretty soon here. How to stop procrastinating in college? Ellie C, good question, Ellie. How do you stop procrastinating? You know, I'm a procrastinator too. I'm bad for that, guys. Like, I need to study for that challenge exam. There's so much paperwork. I have so much bookkeeping that's backed up right now. I need an assistant. If anyone knows a good assistant, I would love it. We would love an assistant right now. Do a lot of our paperwork and our stuff like that because it's so mundane. So, I procrastinate too. I wish I had a good answer. I had a video idea I did where I had 10 ways to get focused and to stop procrastinating. Maybe I'll put that video out. It's more clickbaity. I just kind of generated 10 ideas of things that I did that I would follow that would help me to stay focused, right? You could reward yourself. You could say, you know, like, I'm going to study for the next hour, and then I'm going to enjoy like 3 of Mike's videos, or Mike's video, and then I'm going to study Mike's video, study. Maybe my videos are like, they're kind of like studying. So maybe I'll have one at a time, and then take a break and watch some other type of video that's more entertaining, like my video about puppies. Okay. How do you negotiate deals to get what you want? Have any good resources or tips? Mr. BP971, yeah, there's some tips, some strategies. Oftentimes it's less about the money and more about something else. So I could close a property January 1st for an investor instead of December closing, and now they're in a new tax year. And I explained to an investor, hey, I'm trying to save you 10 grand in tax. Let's close now instead of then. And that they're like, the investor's selling the property to the seller. It's like, wow, man, you're looking out for my interests. I'll give you a discount on the purchase price. Or maybe they're motivated by a quick closing, or maybe they're motivated by they don't want to deal with the tenants there. You assume that headache or that problem. There are ways you can work with people to solve their problems, and that's how you get good deals. Divorce. What are the 3 Ds? It's like divorce, downsizing, something else. Can't remember. The 3 Ds of like job loss or something. I don't know. There's 3 Ds you can look for when you're trying to like distress sellers, basically. That's a good way to get a good deal on the property. Okay, what about making the attic a legal bedroom or 2? You could definitely finish a 3rd story into, if it's got full 6'5" headroom, you could definitely do that. Add some living space, definitely adds value. I think more than the cost, because you're really just putting up like insulation and drywall and some electrical. That's pretty cheap. What other initial capital do you need other than a down payment to buy a property? So there are in Canada, there are closing costs. There are associated with closing costs. There are legal fees. There are disbursements for for title search, for postage, mail, that kind of thing. There's land transfer tax you have to pay in Ontario. In Toronto, you pay it twice. You pay a municipal Toronto tax, and then you pay it again for the Ontario government. So in buying properties in Toronto, it's just gross. They pay like insane amounts of tax on the purchase of a property. Even if you transfer it from your personal name to a corp, you pay that tax again, like $10,000 tax. It's a percentage of the property's price. So a $200,000 property is like $2 grand in land transfer tax, plus maybe $1,200 in legal fees, plus disbursements all included. So your closing costs should be like 3-4 grand on a smaller property. A bigger property might be 5 or 6, but your legal fee should always be about 400, and your disbursements should be, all in should be disbursements and legal fees around 1,200, 1,100. That's a good price. There are guys here in London that charge 1,700, 1,800. Guys in Toronto that charge 2,000. It's disgusting. Don't use those lawyers. Maybe they're really good. Maybe they're worth it. But closing a real estate deal is so simple. You usually have, even when I've closed and there's been like water damage or like stuff they didn't disclose, it's never worth it to go through the lawyers. You just deal. How much weed do you smoke? John Paul, you think because I'm Canadian that it's legal that I smoke a ton of weed. I actually don't smoke. I don't smoke. My bachelor party, I smoked a Cuban cigar, but no, I'm not a big smoker. If you're gonna partake in weed, I guess it is legal now, so I can kind of talk about this. I don't think I can get in trouble for talking about this because it's legal here in Canada. But if you're gonna do it, do edibles. Way healthier than smoking. Do not smoke joints. It's not healthy for you. It causes cancer. What do you think of the current market and how it affects the London market? So I think you mean like current market in general, like our economy. There's an interesting article I want to talk on a video specifically about this. Canada experienced the highest population growth in the last 6 decades. Since the 1950s, we're having baby boomer level population growth, a lot from immigration. But Canada is exploding right now. London, Ontario, there's properties in East London right now that were listed for 208, had 14 offers, and sold for $60,000 over asking. London, Ontario is insane right now in certain pockets. And then in other properties, I'm negotiating right now on a property 30,000 below market value. So it's just all over the place. Hey, you want Daddy to be done? All right, get you off YouTube. I'm not supposed to put you on YouTube. Stay back, child. Stay back. I promised my wife I would not put her on too much on YouTube, not her face directly. I gotta go, guys. She's in the room. She's in the wise wealth room. She's going through the chords. She's smiling. I gotta go, guys. It's 8:16. I've enjoyed the hour and 15 minutes with you guys. I'll see you next week for the Wise Wealth Show, and check out the videos I'm going to be dropping. I might do a Black Friday video on the deals at Lowe's, Home Depot, and Rona and stuff, and how I get really good deals on materials. So that might be a cool video I might try and put out. So anyway, good advice. Stock market, debt. So overall interest rates have been rising. We have 6 prime interest rate increases, and yet still property values are growing. Because rents have been growing 25% in the last 2 years in London. So rents are growing like crazy, which increases cap rates, which increases property values here in London. So see you guys all next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, to unlock a wealthier you, spend less, earn more, and maximize returns. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And check out my last couple of videos. I need the views on that. Share them on your social media. Yeah, Dad's coming.